guys, this is Jose Diego Monroy, broadcasting for Jaden Academy. And today I'd like to introduce a new member of the team of the Dali Civil Group in Houston, Texas. His name is Cooke. Aaron, please tell us a little bit about your background.
I have 19 years of experience working in the greater Houston area in Southeast Texas. I've worked on a wide range of projects from transportation and highway work to small design build projects, as well as wastewater facility plants, water treatment plants, and large water storage tank projects for the city of Houston. I started off my career as a drafting technician for a small company called Omega Engineers that primarily did transportation and airport jobs for the Houston airport system here in Houston, Texas. After I worked at Omega for a few years, I worked at J&S Consulting Engineers. They were a medium-sized Houston-based firm that did roadway improvement plans, a lot of treatment plants, water storage facilities, as well as they did a lot of single-family residential subdivisions. I was there for 5.5 years before I left and went to R.G. Miller Engineers, where I kind of started learning more of the project coordination and project management side of the application for civil engineering. That's when I really started doing primarily site development work. I worked on a lot of large projects all over the state of Texas at R.G. Miller. Did a lot of shopping malls, Kroger's, H-E-B's, schools. I was there for about 3.5 years doing nothing but site work, and then I left R.G. Miller and went over to Pate Engineers, which is now IDS Engineering Group. I was their site department head, where I managed the entire site department. All of the work that came in, we did a lot of site work associated with MUDs, municipal utility districts, all around Southeast Texas. I did a lot of really large detention ponds, which was probably the most interesting thing I've ever worked on, was working in these massive storage ponds all over Houston that all kind of tied together and worked as one unit. After working at IDS for about 5.5 years, I decided to leave and go to Dawson Van Orden, where I served as their department head for the civil and the energy department. We did a lot of really small design build projects. We did a lot of expansions. We got to work on some pretty neat projects like breweries, a lot of religious institutions and stuff in those sectors, which was really interesting. After working there for almost 3.5 years, decided I wanted to work on something different. I wanted to work on some different type of projects, and that's when I started reaching out to Dali & Associates to come over here and be a senior project manager to help manage some of their projects and bring in some new work. So I've been here only about a week and kind of learning how things go.
Well, Aaron, we're very excited about having you here at the Dali & Associates, the Civil Group. Tell us a little more about your education background, where you grew up, and what type of classes did you really enjoy in college or even in high school?
Let's see, my education, I've been born and raised in Katy, Texas, which is just west of Houston. I went to Katy High School, graduated class of 2000. In my younger days, I was always attracted to science and biology. When I was in high school, I wanted to be a marine biologist, and that was kind of the direction I wanted to go with my career. My favorite classes were always revolved around life. So biology, I'd say, was my favorite class in high school. After high school, I went to Houston Community College right here in Houston. I went there for several years to get my 2-year degree before I transferred to the University of Houston here in Houston as well. Throughout community college, I think some of my favorite classes were probably some of the math classes. I'd say calculus and trigonometry, especially trigonometry. I really enjoyed working trig and also calculus. I started getting into more biology and more chemical classes and decided that instead of being a marine biologist, I should probably work towards engineering. So then once I got my 2-year degree from Houston Community College, I transferred to the University of Houston for civil engineering and just kind of worked and went to school at the same time. I was one of the guys that worked 40 hours a week and then also put in 12 to 16 hours a week at the campus. My favorite classes was anything to do with foundation design, strength and materials testing. I liked the lab classes where we got to crush cylinders and stuff like that. That was the neat part. My biggest interest in civil engineering is I like construction. I like to build things. I like to see things built. I like to see things taken apart, put back together. So anytime I got to work in a lab, I really enjoyed that. That was probably my favorite class, was anything around labs.
All right, that sounds good, Aaron. Now, tell us a little bit about your passion, your enjoyment. I know you like racing cars. Tell us all about that.
Yeah, I grew up in a family. My dad was real big into racing cars. My dad used to be a mechanic before he became an engineer. So at a very young age, I was into motorcycles, hot rods, race car. I remember watching Formula One and IndyCar as a little kid on TV, and I just got obsessed with it. And as a small child, that's what I wanted to be when I grew up, is I told everybody I was going to be a professional race car driver. Well, fast forward, many years later, I actually do race all over the United States as an amateur. I compete in NASA, which is the North American Sports Car Association, which is one of the biggest amateur racing groups in North America. And about 5 or 6 times a year, I travel throughout the United States to different states, and I race in an amateur racing league, and I have a 2011 Z06 Corvette, which is what I race, which is my toy and my hobby. It just sits in my garage. I'm really passionate about racing. I just really enjoy dirt bike racing, motorcycle racing, anything with wheels on it, anything with an engine. I enjoy it. As far as engineering, I'm really compassionate about building things, kind of the new future of building things green, building things that are user-friendly, things that last for a long time, that are self-sufficient. So some of the best projects I've worked on that kind of enhanced my career were the jobs that required a lot of LEED certification or low-impact development projects where we had to get extremely creative with our drainage methods and things of that nature.
Okay, that's great, Aaron. Well, welcome to Daly Associates. We're very excited about having you here on board, and look forward to working with you on projects and hopefully going to one of your races.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you, Aaron.
All right, thanks, Diego.